file an intent to file and give yourself ample time to develop. I think it's a good transition, Clay, to talk about what people can do to avoid even being in a situation where this stuff would even take effect or be impactful, right? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I'll say one thing. There are many nonprofits. I've met and interviewed one of them who are lawyers who specifically pro bono for free represent veterans at the U.S. Court, not the board, okay?
Wow.
The higher court. And so
For
food
free.
for thought, I forgot the name of it. If you want it, comment below. I'll make sure I'll dig that video up, get that link, and shoot it to you as a response. But yes, this is my favorite subject. Every time I do a video, if I can talk about evidence, I do. This is the most important thing veterans need to know. If you don't want to go to the U.S. Supreme Court, right? I bet Buffkin and the other veteran really don't want to be in the situation that they're in right now. Okay, prior to that, they didn't want to be at the lower court, if you will. Prior to that, they didn't want to be at the Board of Veteran Appeals, right? Assuming they did supplementals and HLRs, they probably didn't want to do that either. And how do you avoid that? It's evidence, Jason. Everyone knows what the fully developed claim is, which is essentially you letting the VA know there's nothing else to submit. That is the goal, right? There's the stigma on fully developed claims having the evidence from service, the current diagnosis, and the nexus, which would be really good. It doesn't necessarily require those three. The fully developed claim is just you as a veteran letting the VA know I have nothing else to submit. With that said, I like to talk about evidence-based claims. I think veterans at a bare minimum should be submitting evidence from service with the current diagnosis. Submit that claim. If you can get a DBQ and a Nexus Letter from your provider, and for initial claims, I would most likely never recommend paying for that out of pocket, especially for initial claims. If you can get one, go for it. If not, not a big deal. Okay. But submitting evidence is how you avoid any appeal. And even if the VA does not get it right, because that happens, I'm not going to say it's not often, because it does happen a good bit of the time, just not the majority of the time. Okay. Rarely have I ever seen the VA concede to evidence in service, the VA concede to a current diagnosis, and that claim is denied. Okay, rarely have I seen that happen. I have seen it happen, and that's when you go into supplemental appeals specifically, maybe a higher level review, but evidence is the way to go. And I want to say one more thing, Jason, and I'm going to kick it back to you. People get wrapped around the axle on the in-service event a lot. That is the most difficult, right? If you have missing cartilage from your knee, you go get an x-ray. The diagnosis is easy, okay? If you and to be blunt about it, if you don't have a diagnosis, you have no claim anyways. No diagnosis, no claim, doesn't matter. And so the difficult piece for most veterans is evidence from service. Who the heck went to sick call or their battalion aid station or medical, whatever that looked like for them, right? Jason and I were both in the Marine Corps, almost 20 years apart, okay? And although there was a huge time gap, I would bet my life there was a stigma in Jason's peer group of not going to medical because you don't want to be that guy. And it was the same for me, okay? And that is across all services, especially your combat arms MOSs, like infantry, your artillery, even motor T, right? Any ground MOS will definitely have that. And so who has medical evidence? And that's the hard piece. Medical evidence is really good. However, there's also evidence other than medical, and a ton of veterans fall into that piece, right? Did I go see my doc, my corpsman medical for my migraines? No, I did not. Did I have migraines during service? Yes, I did. How am I going to not necessarily prove that, but how am I going to show enough evidence to get at that mark, right? And that's when things get difficult. And that's really, in my opinion, if you don't have a lack of medical evidence from service, veterans should, I would argue this till the day I die, If you don't have medical evidence, veterans should 100% submit any and all evidence other than medical with their claim. Okay. I don't care who tells you differently. That's my advice. Go for it. Especially if there's a lack of medical evidence from service. I'll talk all day about that, Jason. I'm going to kick it to you and just shut
Yeah. It's so important, evidence. And again, with the idea of really providing enough to get over that threshold of equipoise, right? That's the goal. And what I think may be happening out there in, the virtual world is there's so much focus on the benefit of the doubt, at least as likely as not, blah, blah, blah. So, okay, well, all I need to do is go to here. There you go. Boom, submit. Then when you get an unfavorable decision, you're pissed off and you don't move forward and you move on with life. So instead of us focusing on the let's just get at least as likely as not and we'll get it through the door, let's get to the more than likely, right? Mm-hmm. Let's get to the more than likely. Let's provide that. Let's make it easy for the VA to go, oh yeah, I'm a fan of looking at this like telling a story, okay? Because most of us, like you said, don't have hard concrete evidence unless it's for like an injury that you incurred while you were in because you had no choice but to go get treatment for your broken leg or whatever it is, right? So you need to build a story around it and everything kind of needs to tie into each other. Some of the common types of evidence, obviously, are your service treatment records, your medical records. Inside there, your self-attesting forms where you are self-attesting to essentially symptoms because you're not diagnosed. You're just, have you now or have you ever experienced any of these? And it's got 50 things and you're checking yes, no, yes, no's. So it's really important to go through your service treatment records. In addition, your military records of just other things that were going on, there might be pieces in there that help to corroborate a story, right? If you have a little bit over here and a little bit over here that tie together to explain this, it helps. That time that you rolled the Humvee over, right? And the wrecker had to come and fix it and you were in it, but you said you were okay, right? That's proof you were in a rollover. And then the mindset of I can't go to medical and I just popped a bunch of Motrin and wrapped an ace bandage around it and called it a day. It's you telling the story. It's explaining with pieces of fact that you could prove outside of yourself, right? Supporting statements, that's your buddy statements. Buddy statements don't just have to be, Clay, from somebody you served with. It could be from a family member. It could be from a friend. It could be from clergy. It could be from anybody that knew you when you were in specifically. I personally love they knew me before I was in, they knew me when I was in, they knew me when I was out. So they can tell the story of you never used to sit at the table with a bunch of, Tums and Motrin as you were eating, right? That never was a thing until you got back, right? Lay evidence, right? That's kind of all encompassing. There's a lot of stuff that can be used under that. Medical opinions, employment records, if you're trying to prove the severity of your condition, right? Evidence is not just pointing at, I have a condition. It's also the impacts of your condition, right? Remember, there's two goals: get service connected at the appropriate rating. Those are two things that you have to consciously think about as you're providing evidence. You forget about one, you're going to not have a good result. Some uncommon things that people don't think about for evidence, Clay, my MOS, right? Mm-hmm. Let me prove my MOS because my MOS put me in more of a impactful situation, right? I was mortars. I was infantry. I had to carry a pack with all my stuff and we had to walk for 25 miles all the time. And my back hurts. Well, your MOS helps to tell that story, right? Because of the nature of it. If you did any sort of, we had like competitions against other 81 millimeter mortars. So other mortar platoons, and we would do a competition. And so we won. So we got Navy Achievement Medal for winning, right? And then but inside there it tells the story of why you won this, why you got this medal, right? And it's talking about the vigorous hike and the, you know, all the weight you had to carry and what kind of time frame you did it in. And this is all things that tell the story. How about a letter that you wrote to home to your mother who still has it, right? Or who gave it back to you as a keepsake, that you wrote about how you twisted your ankle, or you did this, or you did that, or your migraines are killing you, or to a loved one. Maybe you have a letter like that. Maybe you forgot that you even wrote that. You'd be surprised what you read in things that you wrote 20 something years ago. But getting that is evidence. Pictures are evidence. All of these things count as evidence. The more you supply, the more that the scales start to tip in your favor, right? Tell the story with your evidence as well is a big thing for me, Clay. Back to you.